Hello everyone and welcome to my RB Crystron second place deck profile. I just played locals with this and went 2-1. My matchups were Mitsurugi Ogdoadic, Mitsurugi Orcust, and Orcust Fiendsmith. This deck is really cool. The RB stuff I think is probably the best engine I've played in Crystron before. Every other engine feels like it doesn't really synergize super well with the Crystrons. This one feels like it has all kinds of little small synergies that just do everything you want. It's really cool, although there is some non-bows that we will get into. So I guess I will start with the interesting part of the deck, and I'm sure the part that everyone is interested in, the RB cards. So we'll start with the main deck names. We're on 2 RB GA10 Driller, 2 RB GA10 Cutter, and 1 RB Volcan Rocket. So these cards are really interesting, and I will go over what they do since they're new. All of them have an effect. All of them can special summon themselves from hand if you control no monsters, or if the only monsters you control are RB monsters. And then they gain it, and then they can use their other effects on field if they are linked to an RB monster. So GA10 Driller is a quick effect, target a monster and destroy it by paying 500 life, and it'll destroy itself as well, so it'll destroy itself and the monster you target. GA10 Cutter pays 700, and then can negate a spell trap and then destroy itself. And then Volcan Rocket pays 1,000, targets 2 cards your opponent controls, and then destroys them along with itself. So these give you a nice amount of utility. GA10 Cutter gives you more negation on top of the negates you already get. GA10 Driller is more removal, which is nice. And Volcan Rocket is super underrated. Not only is it really nice because it's a level 5 extender, which is super nice considering it pairs really well with Tristeros to go full combo, but also the removal effect's super handy. Crystron can kind of struggle to deal with back row, and this card is a great way to get rid of it fast. Really liked all these. These ratios were great. The only one I would maybe consider changing is I might bump Vulcan to 2 because drawing it is the best one to draw out of all of these. Then we'll get into the spells for RB. We've got 3 RB Funk Dock, and 3 RB Stage Landing. So the RB main deck monsters, spoiler, are the worst cards in the archetype, and they're still pretty good cards. Like they are just free summons from hand that are also interruptions. This is where the deck really shines, is in its spells, and later on we'll get to the extra deck monsters. Those are where the deck really shines. And I'll get into why. So we'll start with Stage Landing, because this one is by far the most important and the one I have the most to say about. So RB Stage Landing allows you to special summon an RB monster from your deck or extra deck with a different name than the RB monsters you control. And then if an RB monster you control be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this from the grave instead. This card is missing an important line of text on it called you can only use this effect once per turn, meaning you can use this card as many times as you want in a turn. The Graveyard Banish effect isn't once per turn, and neither is the summon. So you can search multiple of these in a turn. It is very possible to search 3 of these in one turn. If you start with Stage Landing, you do go through 3 of them in your 1-card combo. Which means you also get 3 destruction protections, which is really nice. I also want to talk about how this card matches up into the format. This card doesn't play into Droll. It plays really well into a lot of different points of interaction this format because of so much of this format being based around board wipes. This plays really well into things like the Vanquished Soul Snow Devil trap card, Murakumo board wipe effect, Detonator, the Malice like Topologic Bomber Dragon play, so on and so forth. There's just a ton of things that Stage Landing's protection effect makes this really scary into, and the fact that you run through multiple on a turn means you can deal with multiple board wipes every single turn. It's crazy. Then we get into RB Funk Dock, which on activation lets you search an RB card, so you can just immediately get to Stage Landing, so you effectively have 6 copies of Stage Landing. And then each time a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to gain 500 life. That can kind of make up for all the paying you do with your main deck monsters. And then if an RB monster is sent from the field to the grave by card effect, you can summon another RB monster from your deck. So this means that if you were to, say, use Driller's effect on your opponent's turn to target a monster your opponent controls and pop it, you can then, when it's destroyed, float into the cutter to then have a spell trap negate. So it means that your interruptions effectively are doubled up. 1 RB monster equals 2 RB monsters, which equals 2 interruptions versus 1. This card's super important to the deck. You always want to be setting this up on your end board if you're setting up RB interruptions. Super important card. Both of these are incredible. There's also some really cute stuff you can do with Clockwork Knight, since you can use Clockwork Knight to bring back a monster and then tribute an RB monster for its effect, which means it'll trigger Funk Dock to let you summon another monster from the deck, so you get an extra body. Super cute play. Like it a lot. These cards are super important. Oh, I did miss the elephant in the room, though. So Stage Landing does have one huge drawback. You cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck except machines with 1500 or less attack the turn you use this card. If you know anything about Crystron, there are 2 cards you want to be making that are above 1500 attack. Cyber Dragon Infinity and Crystron Elescaletus. My reasoning for still playing this card is that, 1, I believe it is unbelievably strong, and I think it is worth the risk you take in using it, but also there's a lot of things you can do to play around this. Tristeros can pop any synchro to summon 2 from deck, so you can pop like a Dawn Dragster and then summon 2 monsters, and then just end on like 2 Dawn Dragster, since you can bring 1 back with Clockwork Knight, and then the full RB combo. But that's just if you have to use Stage Landing. It's a lot of the time what I'll end up doing is just do the full Crystron combo, set up like Funk Dock plus an RB name, and then just keep a Stage Landing or 2 in hand for the follow-up, because RB's really good at pushing for game and setting up OTKs. So this card's great follow-up, which you can use as, or you can use as an extension if you're getting hand-trapped to death, because this card just does everything on its own without your normal summon. So no matter what you've done previously in the turn, as long as you haven't made Elescaletus or Infinity, which usually if you haven't done that, or usually if you've made those 2 cards, one of those 2 cards, you're probably winning the game. So most of the time, if you're getting hand-trapped to death, this card will save you. It's also really good into draw. Like if I open a hand and I start with like Inclusion and my opponent hits me with a draw, and then I go like summon Tristeros, my opponent ashes the, not Tristeros, Sulfador, my opponent ashes the Sulfador. Stage Landing gets me out of all of that. It lets me just do the full RB combo. Simple as that. Really nice. Now we'll move on to the more standard part of the deck, the Crystrons. We are on 3 tuners, 2 Tristeros and 1 Citri. I'm not going to explain these. I've made a Crystron video on this channel before, and these cards are pretty well known at this point. Crystron's been around for a little while. So I didn't feel like I needed to run 3 Tristeros. You could bump it up, but this deck already has a lot of normal summons because, spoiler alert, we are on another normal summon besides Smyger, so I did want to run only 2 Tristeros, and it worked great. I didn't feel like I ever wanted to see this card more. Felt really strong, and it does pair well with like Vulcan Rocket. It has nice combos it goes into, so good card. Good cards. Like these ratios. Then into our little non-tuner guys. We've got 3 Crystron Smyger, 1 Thistburn, and 1 Prassiortal. If you know anything about Crystron, these are super standard. You play the 1 Thistburn because it comes up constantly. You play the 1 Prassiortal because it also kind of comes up constantly if you know what you're doing. And Smyger's your one of your 1-card starters. You kind of always want to see this card, or you want to see like a way like Thistburn to get into this card. The Crystron cards are crazy. Like they're all insane starters. In a deck where you're wanting to spam out machines, Crystrons are kind of the best at doing it right now. Then we have 2 Sulfador and 3 Soul Fefnir. I do feel like you need to probably play 5 Crystron level 5 names, at least in my opinion. I've always felt like I've needed to, in order to not run out of names and put myself in weird, awkward positions. So, yeah, I like these. I like these a lot. Wouldn't change them. After that, we've got the Spell Traps. We're on 3 Crystron Inclusion and 1 Crystron Cluster. Inclusion's probably the best single card to open in the deck. It's the best one-card starter since this card single-handedly beats Droll and Lockbird, plays well into a ton of different hand traps, and in general just feels crazy to open. And Cluster's a really good end board piece. These are super standard. Nothing really to say about these. Now on to some more interesting stuff. We've got what I'm going to call the Machine package. We're on 3 Scrap Recycler, 1 Regulus, 3 Foolish Burial Goods, and 1 Clockwork Knight. So I really like Scrap Recycler as a starter in this deck, especially in this build because the RB monsters are all extenders. So what you can do is you can special an RB monster and then normal recycler, and then if they imperm the recycler, you can just link off the recycler, tribute your RB monster to bring back the recycler, and then send again. Also, even if they don't imperm this, we have some other good sends, so sending a second machine is really good. Recycler, in my opinion, is my favorite normal summon in Crystron. Regulus is just a really good card to usually get off of Clockwork Knight. Just a really good utility monster. Foolish Burial Goods is just 3 more copies of Recycler or Regulus, or some other surprise cards we'll get to in a second. And then Clockwork Knight's our send target, and this also comes up occasionally as a search target for the Link Monster Clockwork Knight, where we'll send Inclusion because our opponent impulsed Sulfador, and it puts the Inclusion in grave, and just makes things a little simpler for us. Plus, Clockwork Knight can just solo some matchups, into Fiendsmith, it's really good. Into, I don't know, Tempai, it's quite good. Into Mitsurugi, it has some applications. Into Malice, it locks them out of Splash Mages and Lingareebos. So, pretty good cards. Onward is our Machina engine. 1 Citadel, 1 Ruin Force, 1 Fortress, and 3 Redeployment. So this engine, I'm not going to lie, it was a little cope. This engine was not great all day. The one card that was really good and came up all the time was Machina Citadel. You will usually be sending this off of your Recycler as the second thing you send after bringing it back with Clockwork Knight. Because the RB monsters all, two that you use on your opponent's turn are Earth Machines. And if you don't know, Machina Citadel can summon itself back if an Earth Machine is destroyed, and then it can target a quick effect. It's able to target a machine on the field, and then destroy all monsters your opponent controls with equal or less attack to that machine. So this card basically is a torrential tribute for any monster with 3k or less attack, which is most of them. So this card was really good. The rest of these, not so much. Redeployment was just kind of, I don't know, it played poorly into Droll, which wasn't great. In fact, I think one of the issues I had with my list today was that it played really ignorantly into Droll. I was getting Drolled a decent amount today, and every time it hit, it felt a lot worse because I would have cards like Redeployment and another engine I'll get into after this that just made it feel really awkward. Ruin Force came up none today. Fortress, I don't think came up either. If it shows any of how this engine was really not great. Yeah, but Citadel was great. Citadel came up plenty. Really good card. A lot of the times you'll make it on half boards. If you're only able to do RB combo, setting up a Citadel engrave really is a difference maker in if that combo is crazy or not. After that is the last engine in the deck, finally. We're on 3 Sky Striker Engage, 1 Hornet Drones, 1 Widow Anchor, and 1 of the new Lemnis Gate. So the reason you play these is, spoiler alert, one of the RB Link monsters is generic, takes 2 machines, and the Sky Striker engine can just put 2 machines onto the board by going Hornet Drone, summon, make Kagari, add back Hornet Drones, summon a name, and then link into 2 more Sky Striker names using the 2 tokens you effectively get. So it's a 1-card RB combo that doesn't take your normal summon, which is nice. Also, the Sky Striker cards are really good going second. Engage is really scary if you can like send a bunch of spells to grave and then search something like a Widow Anchor and then draw a card. Like, that's a really powerful play. Where these cards felt bad is, 1, into Droll, these cards felt really terrible. Second is that the RB combo by itself, and this is the reason I didn't play this deck pure, is pretty weak. It's just a Spell Trap negate and a monster pop by itself. That's all you're really getting, and some really crazy follow-up and a lot of destruction protection. However, that isn't really enough to win you a game in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You do need the backup, which is why we're on Crystron, because it gives you plenty of backup. These cards never really felt good enough. Unless I was going second and I drew like Engage and a bunch of spells, it never really felt like it was doing enough. Also, Lemniscate felt really terrible. If you don't know what this card is, because it is new, or what this card does, because it is new, you can target an equal number of Sky Striker Ace monsters and Sky Striker spells in your grave, shuffle them back into the deck, and then bounce non-targeting bounce cards in the field up to the number, or for every 3 cards you shuffled back. So let's say I have, let's say I go Engage into Hornet Drones summon token into Kagari, add back Engage, I can search Lemniscate, and then link off the Kagari for another Sky Striker monster, and then normal summon something, link in an RB combo. Now, Lemniscate is a non-targeting bounce one, which is really cool. This card also doesn't require me to have nothing in my main monster zone, like Widow Anchor and Hornet Drones and Engage do, which is super unique, and I think gives this card a lot of interesting potential as a going first option for decks that want to play the Striker engine. However, this card was mostly just a brick all day. I never really did the combo where I do Engage and then search Lemniscate and then go full combo with like a normal summon. That just never came up, which sucks. Definitely, if I do play the Striker engine again, which I don't think I will, I think I am going to replace this with something else. I will probably cut Lemniscate. Even if I were to play this again, I would maybe play like an Afterburners, or I would just play just 2 targets, just the Widow Anchor and the Hornet Drones. But I would probably not recommend Lemniscate. It's cute, and when it is good, it's quite good, but it's really bricky. It does not feel great. After that is the power spells. We've got 1 Foolish Burial and 3 Forbidden Droplets. Forbidden Droplet, a staple in a deck with a bunch of graveyard effects, and ooh boy does Crystron have a bunch of graveyard effects. These felt crazy. Foolish is obviously really good. It just bins any of your Crystron names. Droplet is a really good card in graveyard decks. Not much I have to really say about that. And then the last of our non-engine is our hand traps. We're on 3 Molcharmi Fualos, 2 Molcharmi Perulia, and 3 Droll and Lockbird. So this list was testing a lot of things. Realistically, you probably can cut like the Sky Striker and the Machina engine to play more hand traps, or maybe throw like a smaller engine in instead of playing like 2 different engines and play some more hand traps. It's just, you could use some more non-engine in this deck. It could be helpful, especially like Ash Blossom to beat Molcharmies, I think could be really nice. Called By would also be like well appreciated in this deck. Definitely probably should have been on more non-engine, but you know, is what it is. I wanted to try a bunch of cool engines to see what worked with the new RB stuff. I don't regret it. It felt good. Now on to the extra deck. We will start with the Synchro monsters. We've got 1 Crystron Quarion Gondrax, 1 Crystron Elascoletus, 1 Samurai Destroyer, and 2 Dawn Dragster. So in this build, Dawn Dragster is honestly the most important card in this extra deck. It is summonable back with Clockwork Knight, which is really important because if you have to use this for your combos because you're under the stage landing lock, you can bring this back as a second interruption. I remember in one of my matches, I ended on a board after, I think I got hand trapped where I couldn't end on, what was it? I couldn't do like a standard Crystron combo. So instead I had to use stage landing, and I ended on a board of double Dawn Dragster, the RB monsters set up with like the Funk Dock and the Spell Trap Negate into the Monster Pop, Cluster set, and I think I had a Regulus on board. So even without the Infinity and being able to use Elascaletus, we were still able to set up a really scary end board, which I think is really impressive and shows that the stage landing, even though it is really risky, it can work. It can work, and your end board is still really strong even if you're put under that lock. Because the Crystron cards just enable so much. If you don't know, Samurai Destroyer might be the only thing you're kind of raising your eyebrow at. You run this because you can chain Tristeros to like a Nibiru, and then summon this, and then the Nibiru will take this out, and then when this is sent from the field to the grave, you can bring back any machine from your grave, so it's just there for Nibiru. I think I also made this because it was the biggest 7 I could make, because I think Elascaletus was in my grave. It was the biggest 7 I could make to get to game. That came up once. That's about it. After that, we have our couple of Xyz monsters, which is just Infinity and Nova. If you're not under the stage landing lock, these are super incredible end board pieces. Definitely need to still play these. They're incredibly important. After that is our Sky Striker links. We're on 1 Kagari, 1 Kaina, and 1 Hayate. These were just the link ones I decided to go with. You do need to play a Sky Striker ace that has a downwards pointing arrow, because you want to link off your Kagari for a one that can point downwards. Then you can link your other ace token into a second or into a third Sky Striker ace. So you do have to play 3 aces, which sucks. This is the other reason I don't know if I liked the engine very much, because it's a lot of extra deck space for what, like 4 starters. Like that kind of sucks, especially when the starters don't get you all that far. So I definitely will probably change this engine out, because 3 extra X slots is a lot for how little it actually is. After that, we have our one of Clockwork Knight. This card is so good in this build. Bringing back Recycler's crazy. Triggering your RB monsters with this thing's effect is crazy. Bringing back F.A. Dawn Dragster's crazy. I think there's an argument you could play a second copy of this. This card is so invaluable in this build. I really think mastering using this card is a real showing of who is good at this version of the deck and who isn't. Card is unbelievable in this version. Really recommend just toying around with what Clockwork Knight can accomplish if you decide to pick up and try this version of the deck. And now onto the RB Link monsters. We're on 2 Volcan Rocket and 2 Brute Blues. So I will explain what these do. Both of these are custom cards. They're crazy. Vulcan Booster takes any 2 machine monsters, and if it's link summoned, you can add an RB spell from your deck to your hand. So that just gets you to another copy of Stage Landing, or it gets you to Funk Dock, so then you can get another copy of Stage Landing. Crazy. And then the real card effect that seems unbelievable on this card is that if this is in your extra monster zone, you can special summon an RB monster from your hand or grave. And then if you'd like, you can move this card to one of your main monster zones. That doesn't come up all that much, but the fact that this is in a Rhoda on summon and then also a Monster Reborn is crazy. Especially since this is a link monster, so it will immediately get your RB monster into the link zones you need. It also means that if you have Vulcan Booster, you can search a Stage Landing, summon any of the link monsters from the deck. You can link off the that monster into Clockwork Knight, because they're all Clockwork Knightable, and then bring it back immediately with the Vulcan Booster, and now you've got a monster set up plus enough material to go into Brute Blues. Which, before I move on to Brute Blues, Vulcan Booster also puts you under the 1500 or less attack lock for the rest of the turn. So this is usually what you'll be ending on if you just do a standard Crystron line and then you add this on top of it, because this kind of works like Fiendsmith, where just any 2 machine monsters can get you into the standard RB end board, which is really cool. But anyway, onto your RB boss monster, Brute Blues. Brute Blues gains 3 effects if it is pointing to an RB monster. It gains attack equal to the original attack of all RB monsters it points to. It can make a second attack during each battle phase, and it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So this guy becomes kind of a house if you have him pointing to any RB monster, especially into lower ceiling decks This card is a total bruiser. He just swings for big damage. If you have him pointing to another Brute Blues and like the Vulcan Rocket, he goes up to 4k attack, which if you swing twice with that is just game. And it's even better because you can protect all of that with your stage landings. So it's really hard to actually get all of that off of the field. These cards show off a ton of going second pressure. He is also how you make stage landing a 1-card combo, because during the main phase, you can use his effect to add any RB card from your deck to your hand. So what you'll typically do, and this is the reason why we're running 2 of him, you'll go stage landing, summon Brute Blues, and then you go Brute Blues, search either Funk Dock or another copy of Stage Landing, and then you can summon from deck any of your names, and then you can link in a Vulcan booster, which will get you another which will either get you Funk Dock or another copy of Stage Landing, and then you will summon another one from deck, do the Clockwork Knight play I was explaining, and then make a second Brute Blues, and then there's your end board. Really simple stuff and really solid stuff. Super easy setup to do, and it runs through all of your stage landings, so you're set up perfectly with all that protection. These cards are both really good. It really shows, and I am going to explain to this now. I'm really excited for what RB has potentially coming in a second wave, because this deck is super high quality. The spells in it are some of the most high quality spells I think I've ever seen them give a TCG exclusive archetype. Stage Landing I think is on par or better than the Mitsurugi spell cards like Prayers and Ritual, which Mitsurugi's like the best deck in the TCG right now, so that's saying a lot. And the Link Monsters, Vulcan Rocket is a custom card. It is so insanely powerful. It's everything you could want to link to. And Brute Blues, while it's not like insane and it doesn't really disrupt the opponent on its own, it is like a really solid card and does a lot of what you want the deck to do, especially with Stage Landing. So I think this deck is already in a really good position. I think you just give it a couple new main deck monsters that can further disrupt the opponent, because it's very easy to set up like a second RB monster onto the board, so then you can have more interruptions. Like getting a third decent interruption would be a huge difference maker. And then giving the deck maybe another Link monster, just something else to make would be nice. Just things to increase its ceiling, I think would make this deck a lot better. The one other thing I would like to see is maybe a way to get your Link monsters back, because like I almost want to play a third Vulcan booster. That's how much I feel like you want recovery with these guys. Bringing back your names constantly feels really important, and always having access to these names feels super important. There's a reason I'm on 4 of the names. I genuinely want to go up to 5 or 6. Like they're that important and that powerful. Then onto the side deck, we've got 3 Urgent Schedule and 1 Sky Striker Afterburners. If you don't know what Urgent Schedule does, it's basically a going second double E-Telly, but it negates the monster's effects. And you can only summon you have to summon a level 4 lower Earth Machine, level 5 or higher Earth Machine. So what you'll typically do is you'll summon Citadel and Scrap Recycler with this. You'll link off the Scrap Recycler for Clockwork Knight, and then you'll bring back the Recycler by tributing the Citadel. And then Recycler will have its effect live because it just got brought back from the grave. And then that's full Crystron combo without your normal summon. And now you have 2 machines to go full RB combo also without your normal summon. So this card does a ton on its own and feels insane going second. I would love to main this, but I just can't justify playing a card that's only really good going second. It's maybe a little more just justifiable post Justice Hunters because of how many decks are going to be playing on turn 0. But I wouldn't do it personally. And then Afterburners is really good as just another thing you can side in. I was siding this in most of the time. It's a really good card. If you have enough spells in grave, popping a monster and a spell trap is really good. Afterburner's good card. Probably won't play it anymore because I don't intend to play the Sky Striker engine anymore. But for what it's worth, it was good. Then for a few more hand traps, we're on 3 Ash Blossom and 2 Imperm. I just felt like I wanted more hand traps post side, especially going first. I basically cut the 5 Mulch Armies for these 5 hand traps. They're all universally good. There's not really a matchup where Ash is bad or Imperm is terrible, especially going first. And going second, sometimes I just need these. A lot of times going second, I was siding out about like 4 engine cards that I just didn't need. They were just like one-ofs that mostly just came up in going first combos, so I didn't really need them. These are really good. I would probably keep these. If anything, I'd really like to bump Imperm to 3. And then the Malice Hate, we're on 3 Meowls and 3 Lancia. Man, I cannot wait till I do not have to side these cards anymore. It is so annoying siding Lancia in every deck. I want my 6 side slots back. Oh my god. If you've looked at any of my other deck profiles, these 6 are like a constant. God, I wanna play other things. Please, please. Konami, deal with this deck. Please. Anyway, that's been the deck profile. I'll go ahead and do a combo just because I want to show off what the RB cards can do. We'll do a 1-card... you know what? We'll do 1-card Stage Landing. No, never mind. I want to show off what you can do with the Crystron cards. No, actually, never mind. I'm lying. I am going to do Stage Landing. I want to show off what the RB cards can do on their own. Again, it's not going to be terribly impressive what this does by itself, but it does so much more with any of your engine pieces. It pairs really well with literally any Crystron engine card. In fact, it might be worth it to bump Tristeros to 3 just because it pairs super well with the RB cards. Lot of things I can do here. This is absolutely a first draft of a deck, and the fact that I got second place with it, first time playing it, first time running this build, is I think really showing of how good this deck actually is. We're going to go Stage Landing. We're going to summon our RB Brute Blues from the extra deck. We're going to use Brute Blues to search another copy of Stage Landing. The reason we're not going to immediately get into Funk Dock is because I don't want to lose to Droll Unlock. If they Droll me here, I can go Stage Landing, summon a name from deck, and then at least I have 1 interruption, which isn't a lot, but it's something. And again, I'm going to have 4 other cards in my hand. We're going to go Stage Landing, summon any of the names from deck. I like to keep Vulcan Rocket in deck since we're only on 1 of it, so we'll just get the Driller. And then we'll go Link 2 for Vulcan Booster. Vulcan Booster effect on summon to search our Funk Dock now that we know we are safe from Droll. We'll activate Funk Dock. Something notable, by the way, is that Funk Dock has to search. So if you search this off of another card and then they Droll you, you just can't activate Funk Dock, which is really frustrating, but it's not the end of the world. We'll then use Funk Dock to search... here's where there's actually an interesting decision. If you want to keep a copy of Stage Landing in the deck for later, you can actually just straight up search a copy of one of your names instead, because you can just special summon them since you just control an RB. So we'll just do that instead because I want to retain a name and I probably don't need 3 destruction protections. We'll special the Cutter. We'll link the Cutter off for Clockwork Knight. We'll go we'll go Booster to bring back the Cutter. And then we'll go Clockwork Knight to target our Driller. Tribute the Cutter, summon the Driller, and then trigger the Funk Dock to summon another RB monster from deck. We'll get another copy of Cutter. And then we'll link these 3 off for our Brute Blues number 2. So this here, again, isn't terribly impressive, but we did all of this without using our normal summon. And we set up a really powerful resource loop. We're in a really good position. Brute Blues is really hard to get rid of. Stage Landings make it really sticky. And this does represent just a bunch of material. And if this doesn't show anything, this does show that a single name, another main deck name that interrupts the opponent would be so good even just for this. Since we could pop one of these and then trigger Funk Dock to summon another name from deck to get another interruption. Turning this from 2 to 3 interruptions is huge. It's a huge difference. But that's the deck. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to see more RB content, let me know. I can do tons of different stuff on this deck. I really love this archetype. I think it's so interesting. I think it's so unique. It reminds me of Earth Machine, which is one of my favorite decks of all time. I'm definitely going to be exploring this more in the future. I will probably bring an updated version of this deck next week where I play some different engines in it. Maybe try more non-engine. We'll see. But anyway, I'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.